What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Beck Check Podcast. This episode is my first annual student spotlight. I'm hoping to turn this into an annual tradition where I interview a handful of students at the end of every year just to get their honest thoughts and opinions on my class. What went well, what didn't go well. When it comes to improving math education, I think it's important that we consider the student voice because they're the ones experiencing it, so we should learn from them and appreciate their point of view. I was blown away at this conversation that I had with them. They were so thoughtful in their responses to my questions, and so I hope you all can really enjoy it too. This episode will be a two-parter where the first part will be a group interview that I did at the end of the year, and the second part is a one-on-one interview because the student that was leaving before the end of the year, and I wanted to make sure that he still got included on the spotlight, so we did it before he could leave. All right, that's enough of me talking. Go listen to my awesome students. All right, welcome to the Beck Check Podcast. To get things started, why don't you guys just go ahead, introduce yourselves, and then just share one fun thing that you're looking forward to this summer. If you want, Donnie, we'll start here.
I'm Donnie, and I don't have any plans for this summer.
I'm Emma, and I'm going to Missouri this summer.
I'm Anissa, and I'm looking forward to hanging out with my friends.
I'm Lucas, and I'm looking forward to sleeping.
I'm Jason, and I'm looking forward to just hanging out with family and whatnot.
So here's my first question for you all. Anybody, feel free to jump in and answer at any point. And if you guys want to respond to each other, feel free you can. Like, as much as you guys are talking to me, you're also talking to each other. Okay?
Okay.
So here's my first question for you guys. What was it like to be a student in Mr. Beck's class?
It was a positive experience. A lot of interaction between students and the teacher. It was very supportive, and I learned a lot this year.
I agree. I think it was very interactive, where you would interact with not just the teacher, but with other students, and work together to figure it out.
Like, math was, enjoyable. I feel like it wasn't, something I was dreading in my day anymore. I liked coming here.
Yeah, I can agree with all that. I thought math was a little dry before I got into Mr. Beck's class, and it was quite fun. So, thank you, Mr. Beck.
I think Mr. Beck made it a fun experience. He always, kept the students, engaged with math, and he always made it fun somewhat.
All right. Thank you all for sharing. Really appreciate that. What would you guys say was the most difficult part of this class?
The bits where we didn't interact. So when you would have us sit down on the Chromebooks, I feel like there was such a stark difference from what we were used to. So having to do that was a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Interesting. Why would you say that was more difficult?
Because it's away from the norm that you made.
I personally enjoy the weeks where we would go back and forth. I just don't like doing the same thing every day like that, so switching up did help me. Some days just sitting down and being quiet does help, but some days being up with others and working together can also be beneficial.
Yeah.
I can agree with everything that Donnie said. Some days were where you would want to be with people, and then some days you just might want to be alone. So I think Mr. Beck honestly did both of that very well.
What did you guys think about the group work?
Oh, I liked it. I feel like everybody was pretty engaged, and the group roles that you assigned at the beginning, and when you made us sign that big poster, I remember that. I feel like everybody stuck to it pretty good. There's exceptions, but
For the most part.
Yeah.
I feel like group work was made the norm, whereas in other classes you're used to working by yourself. So I feel like it made more of a open space, I guess you would call it, where it's people aren't as scared to talk to each other.
It was kind of difficult to be in a group with some people, but you get around it and you try to engage them to work with you. But I think for the most part, working together with people was pretty good.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't know most of the people in my class, but the group work did help me to introduce me to more people and just see where people are coming from.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see the opinions on math. A lot of people solved it
Yeah, that was the more interesting part of group work, in my opinion. Just being able to see completely different ways that you could solve it, just in case something else didn't work for you. You could solve it in a completely different fashion, so yeah, totally agree with that.
I like when you pointed that out too, like circling it on the boards and like saying, "Oh, like look what this group did."
What did you all think of the Socratic Circle?
I like that.
That was my
That
favorite.
fun. Yeah, I feel like it got even like kids who don't really like want to try at math like more engaged.
Got a lot of people talking and like interacting to figure out an issue. And as she said, it got people that didn't normally talk to talk.
If I were to do a second one, would you guys have wanted to do a second one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would participate.
No, I wouldn't.
That's okay. Tell me why.
I don't know. I'm not really good at Socratic seminars, and I don't like, because there's a whole bunch of people talking over each other. I just can't deal with it.
That's fair.
Yeah, I can see where Emma's kind of coming from with that, because sometimes people will, like, not wait their turn and will get too hasty to get into the discussion and whatnot, so they're kind of okay to me, but that is a problem that is in Socratic seminars, circles, and whatnot.
Okay, so we talked about group work. We talked about what it was like to be a student. If you could guys think of just one thing, what is like the number one thing that you did like about this class?
Yet,
Oh yeah.
the big yet above the door that looms over all of us in on all our periods.
So what about yet did you like?
It made you think you could do it, right? Because I don't feel like teachers tend to not make that a big point. At least my past teachers haven't. So having that be such a focal point in the classroom kind of makes you think about it more.
I feel like a lot of teachers like expect you to like already do all of that, and like there isn't like any yet, and like you should already know, but like it's different for everybody.
Me personally, I just like the soul that was put into math, because my previous teachers really didn't have the soul in math, which is kind of just, in my opinion, a dry subject already. So it was nice to have a complete change of things and have a little more soul into math instead of it being dry like usual.
Yeah, you were very, very passionate some days about what you were trying to teach us.
Did you guys like the quadratic formula song?
Yeah.
It was goofy.
I sang it the entire final. I'm not even joking. Multiple times. I was sitting in my brain, like, trying to use it.
Yeah. That's all.
I also enjoyed like the one-off bits where you would like do freestyles or just tell jokes or whatever. I enjoyed that a lot to kind of lighten the mood or to like just make it easier.
Yeah, I don't know what would happen. I think I would just have extra coffee some days, and then I don't know. I would just freestyle or something different. I don't even
Be a bit silly.
Emma, what about you? Was it something that you enjoyed the most?
I think I like the activities before holidays that you would do, like still involving math. Like for the day before Thanksgiving weekend, that you made us like go around shopping, and like calculating how much money we would have left or how much money we would spend. I really like the stuff you did before holidays.
Can you guys think of, you know how some days we would do like a different type of puzzle problem? Where like, remember that one day we did Einstein's riddle? There are other days where we drew, the very first couple weeks of school, I drew a bunch of squares on the board and I said, how many squares are there?
I did enjoy those a lot.
So those types of problems, if you guys can try to think back and do any of those stand out to you?
Yeah, because they were so hard. Like they just stand out. I remember struggling. Yeah.
Do you remember one in particular, or?
Like the space race one, like where you compared the graphs. Like I feel like it was kind of hard to like see the difference, but like after I like kept looking at it, then yeah.
I don't know if this counts as one, but when you put all the numbers on the board and you had to like multiply together to figure out which number that one. I enjoyed that one because it was the whole class working together towards that one goal.
Oh, was that the palindrome one?
I don't
Do you remember that one? You added
Oh,
the two numbers,
that one was
you reversed
hard.
the digits
Yeah.
and add it and see if it was a palindrome or not.
Yeah.
I get very competitive, so I had a lot of fun
Yeah.
when I was doing those. Try to beat everyone else. I specifically really like the Einstein one a lot. It just, not as math related, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, the whole Einstein riddle got you to really think about, like, to use contextual evidence and whatnot. So that's what I liked about it. It wasn't really numbers, and it was more about thinking of, like, visual situations, which I'm more about, opposed to, you know, numbers. I'm not really strong with numbers. I'm more strong with the graphs and whatnot, and the transformations and slope and all that.
Be honest. Hit me with it. What would you guys suggest that I could do to improve the math class experience for you guys? It could be anything. Like, what do you think I could do differently to help more students learn math? And it's okay. It can be raw, be honest. You're not going to hurt my feelings.
I don't know. I think you do a pretty good job already. Like, you always keep a positive attitude. That's, like, the number one thing.
I'm trying to think. The only thing that comes to mind is just like more, like less so more of like the board work, but more activities where people work together and to make more of like a connected classroom rather than having like cliques.
Yeah. Like, you need everybody to participate to get to, like, the final, like, solution.
Yeah, in the sense that like someone like a quiet kid would be able to talk to like a really loud kid without there being any like awkwardness, right? So that everyone in the class can kind of be comfortable, and that's got to be difficult. But I would say that's my one thing.
Do you guys think the random groups help with that at all?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
And it helps you learn names. You see it on the board. Like,
yeah,
I mean, one thing I would just say is bring back Butterbeck for another day.
yeah. I agree entirely.
Would you mind explaining what Butterbeck was to the audience?
So, for people who don't know, it was a petition that I signed to get Mr. Beck to dress up in a butter-like costume. And so he wore it for one day, and he doesn't want to do it again, but it would be nice to have him have another appearance with it. So,
It was also funny because he made him pay for it himself. Wasted his own money on it.
that's funny.
That did
That's
happen.
just mean.
Let the record state that did happen. I did not think you were going to get, 150, 200 signatures in a day? Like that. I lost a bet hard. But that just happens.
I was gone the day. Like, I remember hearing about the petition, and then I was gone the next day, and I came back, and I was like, how many signatures can you manage to get in a day? And it's like 2 pages, and I'm like, how? How and why? And I was like one of the last signatures, and then it just happened, and I was like, what? How?
Because everybody likes Mr. Beck.
This is true.
That's why.
Well, thank you. Very kind. Okay, so what I'm hearing from the suggestions is try to find a way to, incorporate everybody into the problem.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes when we did the different problems, right, it was like, okay, here's a problem, I solved it, but now I'm going to share the marker so that the next person can work through the problem. So it was like you're together in a group, but I feel like those types of activities are a little more isolated,
Yeah.
We weren't
right?
together. Yeah.
Right, like you could be, I'm stuck, right, and then you could ask your teammate for help and you could work through it, or you could look at a different whiteboard to try to get help. But so more activities where, would everybody be working on the same problem, but it was just a big problem where you would need? Or if, I gave different jobs to different groups to try to come together and bring something? I'm just trying to, brainstorm how we could do that.
I don't think the jobs would work as much.
Yeah.
Because they all have different roles and I'm doing this thing and you're gonna do that, so let's just go our own, go on our own. So I don't think that would bring anyone closer, That's my opinion.
I also feel like putting people into roles limits what they do and what they learn in a specific problem or whatever. So it's better, I would say, it's better to have a singular problem where people can kind of chip in where they feel confident, or maybe get help when they're less confident.
Yeah. Maybe for a suggestion, it could be something where there's 4 groups and they're kind of bigger groups and they all have to get a piece of a puzzle, and if one group doesn't do that part, then you guys can't solve the problem. So you need everybody to participate.
That is one thing that I thought about. So
Yeah.
in the second semester, we learned about functions,
Mhm.
right? We started with just like linear functions. At the very beginning of the year, we just were drawing lines. Then we learned about quadratics, and then we also learned about exponentials, right? You guys remember the penny problem? When I said, would you rather have $1,000 every day or a penny that doubles every day? And we saw, well, if it doubles, it's exponential and it goes up way fast. So we learned about those types of graphs too. And so part of me was thinking, what if I did this crazy huge project where I did divide it up into 4, and each group had a different function, and each function had a different way to solve the problem. It'd be like if the president came back and had a second mission, but it was a much more complicated mission. The second time like a return.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
But it was such a big project that I just was like, I don't even.
Yeah.
It was hard to try to tie it all together because there's so many moving pieces. Because like the first project, right? You have to. What I really like about that Socratic Circle is, I mean, for the audience who doesn't know, check out my podcast number 2 for more info on that. But what I really like about it is that like the whole idea of PBJs in water bottles, people could have different ideas of how many PBJs or water bottles a person could need in a day, and like whether or not you understand the math, you can talk about that. So I think that's part of the reason why more people were engaged in that problem, was because I might not understand how to write an equation, but I can debate with Donnie over here about how many water bottles a person needs. So it's like I was trying to come up with another problem like that.
Yeah.
You know, where people could have access to it without being like, oh my gosh, I have to solve an equation right now.
Making it more viable for everyone to kind of be able to talk.
Well, yeah, since some people aren't into the Socratic Circle, if you split it into like 3 different circles, that could help more people come out and speak more because there are not as many people watching them. So I think maybe having multiple little circles could help people communicate better. Another idea that I had for teamwork is that if everyone has a different color marker, and you put a problem on the board and you have one step at a time, somebody puts the first step down, solves it, shows on the board what they did, the next person with a different color marker can work off of that so you can see each person understands each step.
That is a good idea.
I'll have to give that a try. Do you consider yourself to be a mathematician?
No.
Yes
No.
or no?
No.
No?
No.
Because I still need some of your help. Like, I need that, like, extra boost of confidence that you give me, you know? So, like, because I can probably do the problem, but, like, sometimes I think that I can't, and then that means that I can.
So just because you need a little bit of encouragement, that means you're not a mathematician?
Yeah. Like, without your encouragement, then I'm just not a mathematician, you know?
Interesting.
And, like, in, like, the outside world, I'm not always going to have you, like, on my shoulder, like, to answer a math problem.
Do have a calculator.
What do you guys even, how about this? What do you guys even would say a mathematician is?
I would say a mathematician is someone who dedicates a chunk of their life to math or math adjacent things.
Yeah. Like, daily math. Like, they enjoy doing it, and then they could, like, solve, like, almost anything.
I would say that's a key part, enjoyment
Yeah.
in the subject and like the want to do it.
I just think it's an occupation.
Would you get
When I
paid
thi-
to be a
when I think-
mathematician?
I mean, university teachers that are, like a lot of famous scientists would teach at universities, so a lot of mathematicians could be like university, college math teachers, people that enjoy the math, like you said, but have a lot of enjoyment with it. Those kind of people, when I think mathematician, you know, that's what comes to mind. Albert Einstein, Oppenheimer, people that you'd see on like a big green chalkboard in front of a lot of people. And I don't think I'm Einstein or Oppenheimer. So
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I would say I lack the I don't know if I would say I lack the enjoyment, but I lack the want to do math. It's not something that I actively would do in my free time. So that's why I would consider myself not a mathematician, because it's not a focal point and something I want to do.
I actually have a different view on this. So I see where everybody's coming from, where the basic term is mathematician, which involves usually somebody who works with numbers. But I believe that a mathematician is more about the thought process. Like, if you can make a thought process out of, like, a problem that you are met with, like, maybe not enough money or something like that, and you can actually think, that's what I think a mathematician truly is, not the basic, like, oh, I'm good with numbers term. I think it's much deeper than that.
I think I agree with that a lot, because as much as it's a lot of enjoying the subject and understanding it, I think that solving it and just thinking about the process. There's different ways to solve it, and if you write down the same problem and try to solve it like 3 different ways, like, you know, you're thinking all about just that one problem. Oh, how can I solve this a different way? And I think that's what a lot of really big, high, smart people do. Try to solve the same question like over and over and over again, trying to get different solutions, you know?
Yeah, like outside of the box thinking.
I think that makes sense, that it's all a matter of opinion. Like, if you ask somebody if they're a cook and they cook in a restaurant, it's different from if they cook at home. But depending on where you ask, they could still be a cook if they're just cooking at home. You know what I mean? So that makes sense to me more than what I would have said, is that depends on what situation you're in and how you view it.
I agree. It's a opinion question. It relies on opinion.
Yeah.
Right. And I think also context. By
Right.
context, I mean you guys are high schoolers, right? You're finishing your freshman year. There's no way I would expect you to be like Albert Einstein or any of these other famous people that you would say that a mathematician is, right? One, you haven't finished high school yet, right? You haven't gone on, and you would even want to pursue your PhD in math, but that's kind of like what you were just saying over here. Like, you can still cook without being a professional chef, right? You guys can all still do math even without being a professional mathematician. So when I said mathematician, kind of what you all already answered in the earlier in the podcast, when you said that you were enjoying math or you felt like you were able to do it, that's all I was after when it came to being a mathematician.
So just the ability to do so, not the enjoyment or like opinion of.
Well, I hope you would enjoy it somewhat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of
Right?
course.
But just that you would understand. You know what? I learned some math skills this year. I know that I can solve math problems. I'm a mathematician. That's all I was going for. Not like I proved all these different theorems, right? Did all this stuff. That's all I was really going for.
What is the
mathematician.
definition of mathematician? I should say. What is the definition of
Maybe I
mathematician?
am a
I'm gonna Google it.
mathematician then.
Maybe I will
Maybe.
Google it.
Maybe.
Or just not yet, right?
Yeah, just not yet. Just not yet.
Let's see. What is the definition of mathematician? Mathematician, an expert in or student of mathematics. So student. So technically,
Right.
Okay.
so technically, we're all mathematicians because you're a teacher and we're all students. So it's not like a professional thing. It's just someone who does mathematics.
But you know how many students don't see themselves as someone who can do math?
I think that's a confidence issue among small children. I say
I don't
small
think
children.
It's just small children.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of people.
Yeah. I just think it's I don't know if it's a cultural thing or just like people, societal. I don't know what the right word would be, but I think it's just people lack confidence and that they don't want to like big themselves up to be something that they might not be or afraid to be.
Or like just like certain emotions like tied to math, like maybe like when you're younger, like because you can't do it then, like you get so stressed out that you don't want to do it again. So then like every time you see it like coming up, it's like, oh, I don't want to do that.
That's part of the reason you all said you brought soul, or you were positive, or you said just not yet, right? That's part of the reason why I do that, is because I know that so many students have had negative experiences in math. And that's why we did that math autobiography at the very beginning of the year, so that you all could kind of reflect on that. And then, Anissa, I love what you just said on your final portfolio thing. Do you mind if I share it?
Sure.
Or would you like to share it?
No, I don't remember what it was.
Okay, so what she said was, because the question I asked you was, how did you feel about your math autobiography? What would you add to it? And Anissa, you were just like, why was I stressing out so much about math? So like now, like this many months later, maybe you could actually start to see yourself be someone who can do math.
Yeah.
And that's my main goal, regardless of whatever grade you all end up with. The goal is just that you can see yourself as someone who can do math. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Because so many people don't feel like they can.
That's how I used to feel. Like I was so emotional, it just made me want to cry. Like every single time I saw the numbers. Now I feel different.
I think it also takes a good teacher to make someone feel that way, right? So
Yeah.
where, like you said, a lot of people have had bad experiences, which means either just bad times or bad teachers or bad, whatever the case may be. it takes someone to be positive and to make it fun to change that.
All right, so this one, last question, and I definitely want to hear it from everybody, okay? If you could give the incoming freshmen, okay, who are about to experience Mr. Beck's class, what piece of advice would you give them?
Should we go in a circle here, or are we just
I don't
shouting?
know. We can popcorn it. Whoever wants to start, if you want to start here. So what piece of advice would you give to incoming freshmen who are about to take this class?
I would just say trust in Mr. Beck and say whenever he says not yet, just trust in him, because it does eventually happen where you understand what you think you can't ever understand, and just hearing his positivity from his words saying not yet, like just not yet, try harder. I think you should just listen to what he has to say and try your best and ask for help. That's definitely a big factor in that, and he will definitely give you the help you need. And that's my opinion.
I think if you've always struggled with math and it scares you naturally, that you need to just chill and calm down and trust in Mr. Beck, and it'll happen. If you put effort into it and listen to what he's saying, you will understand it at some point. So you just gotta calm down a little bit and take a step back.
I would say the same thing, just relax. I feel like a lot of 8th graders come in and they're very amped up or maybe kind of shut down because of the experiences they had in that past grade. So they come in with like a wall set up to I guess they come in not wanting to learn. They come in with maybe a bias towards not wanting to learn, or to maybe just shut down someone who might want to actually help them. So I would say just relax and listen.
I guess my piece of advice would be from somebody who had that negative emotion toward math is coming in, it won't be that hard. Your mind's just trying to, tell you otherwise. And also if you get Mr. Beck, don't worry, he won't bite. He's very gentle. So you can usually come to him with any problem that you need.
You gotta be careful, he bites sometimes.
Ooh.
Sometimes, but
Yeah, don't get too close, he's like a rabid dog.
What?
no.
We're not trying to freak out the next
Sometimes
freshman.
he's
Yes, we
staring
are.
at his desk, if he's at his desk looking at his computer and you look close enough, he's frothing at the mouth. And, his fingers are shaking on the keyboard.
The canines are out.
It's terrifying.
All jokes aside, you don't have to worry. Even if you do have that negative emotion, just try to, alleviate it a little bit. It's been a change for me, to be honest. So that's the only advice I have for y'all.
I would just say this is a fresh slate, coming into your freshman year. Don't think about any grudges you've had towards math, any past years, what Emma said, just trust Mr. Beck. The not yet, it's true. It's not just a teacher trying to say something to get you to do your work. You mean it.
Well, awesome. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate all of your thoughts. Thank you for being on the Beck Check podcast. I'd love to have you guys again sometime.
Senior year, we'll come
Senior,
back.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Thank you all so much. I hope you have a great summer.
Bye.
Bye.
So, Chris, you wanted to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
How come you wanted to be on the podcast?
Since you started it, we had to figure out what it was called in the first place, considering you didn't want to tell us. We found it and we listened to it, and it'd be pretty cool because I'm leaving soon that I could be on it before I go.
Awesome. So, my math class, has it felt different than other math classes that you've had?
I would say so, only because you actually get everyone engaged most of the time. More people are wanting to do your work instead of sitting there kind of just blowing it off like most people do in other math classes.
What are some things that I did that you think helped get people more engaged?
You made things more fun for everyone to do, and you just have different things that you tend to do that. You just like, have a positive attitude. Is that?
How do you feel about working at the whiteboards each day?
I mean, it differs on the day, but I think it's pretty good for everyone, considering you got to work with multiple people throughout your life. So it just teaches you to get along with everyone.
The random group kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Can you think back? Do you have a favorite lesson or activity we did this year?
I'm not too 100% sure. I feel like all of them were like equally just as good than the last. So I don't think I had a favorite one, but one that was,
Is there any that like stand out to you that was like, oh, this one was different, or this one was more fun, or this one I feel like I learned and I enjoyed more than others?
I think the one that stood out the most was the Socratic circle.
Oh, okay.
Considering like most of the time it's just in a English setting instead of math.
Okay. What do you think is the number one thing that you have learned this year in my class?
To work in groups better. Before I came here, I didn't really like working in groups, and liked being more to myself when doing math. I don't really like when someone told me how to do my math in a different way. But since I've had to do it the way you guys do it here, I think it helps me more in groups.
Do you feel like your math skills have improved this year?
Some yes, some no. Some things like they kind of I catch on pretty fast, so it kind of helps. Just like so some things when I struggle, I think I end up overcoming them, but most of the time I get through it pretty fast.
Okay. Did I have an especially funny joke this year that you liked?
I don't know. Do you have like a new joke like every other day?
That's true. Did you ever look at my mathematician wall?
I looked over there. I've never really like looked at it. But
Do you see yourself as a mathematician?
Yeah, I think I could. If you probably.
How do you see yourself as a mathematician? Like, why do you feel that way?
I feel like because when you have the math problem, I don't kind of just give up in the first half. I kind of sit there, use the other principles to figure it out. Even if it's not the right answer, I can just kind of ballpark it.
All right, Chris, I think that's all I got. Do you have any final thoughts just on this math class as a whole?
I really enjoyed it. I'm going to miss being in this class. And you were one of my favorite math teachers.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Chris.
Yeah.